Ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is my supreme, abject pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Folk of South Florida, Michael Stock. That does it. We should just fire that studio audience. They're the worst.
Hello. Thank you. My co-host, Edgar Allan Poe IV. And welcome to New Traditions. We bring traditional stuff in a new light. New traditions. Okay, I think that pretty much explains it.
It's good for me, Mr. Stock.
I think it does it well. In the studio this morning, this afternoon, or this evening, depending on when you're watching, is Boomslang Project, a Lost Me Boomslang, and also Jeffrey Knapp, the Poet in School program. And I'd like to first, before we get...
Wear a hat to cover up my bald spot, Alan.
Yeah, well, yeah, there wasn't enough powder for my head, so I didn't want to, you know, there's so much powder in the world.
Can we get to the show now? Are we ready for the program?
Yeah.
Okay. Jeffrey Knapp, you...
Michael Stock.
You are a poet. Is that your trade?
Michael Stock. Yes, I'm a poet.
Thank you. We're trying to be serious here, Jeff.
I'm an academic poet, thank you.
An academic, is that as
we can tell by the socks. We get a close-up on those socks there?
Those are very pretty socks.
Nice socks.
But academic poet as opposed to what?
There we go. Nice. Ooh. We can tell he's an academic.
He's an academic poet. Yeah. So what do you do?
Want to see my T-shirt?
What do you do as a poet?
Yeah.
I write poems.
Is that what you do?
Why Michael Stock? That's a probing question.
Well, what do you write?
I write, I give poetry readings from places like Books and Books, Cameo, colleges and universities, shopping malls, my backyard. I do a thing with Mitchell Kaplan of Books and Books called Dial-A-Poem.
Well, that sounds interesting. That's like you call up on the telephone for a poem?
For a good time, call 444-POEM.
And that's what we could call that right now. We don't have a phone.
It's not even a 976 number. Huh?
No, that's dial-a-porn. It's dial-a-poem.
And do kids have to get their parents' permission before they call this dial-a-poem, or no? Anyway,
Michael Stock.
Well, it's always good to rely on something.
Jeffrey, whatever his last name is.
Jeffrey Knapp. So you write poems, and I imagine you keep busy. Apparently, you keep busy as a poem writer.
Well, I teach.
A poem writer?
A poet.
Poet, yeah.
I also teach to, keep me off the street. It's hindered my bowling game in the past few years, but I've been doing this program in Dade Public Schools as a poet in residence, doing creative writing workshops.
You go around to different schools and give creative... Yeah. So are there any creative writers in the Dade County Public Schools?
I'm sure there are. Michael Stock. No, they decided that I should work in elementary schools. So I don't have much of an opportunity to meet the kids in junior high and high school who are really beginning to get an identity.
Well, that seems kind of unfortunate, because is elementary too young to...
No, the program works quite fine there, but as far as like meeting students who are really writing and have aspirations to be writers, I really don't come across them.
So it seems to me that you are the first exposure of poetry to some of these kids.
Well, I think Mother Goose is.
Okay.
I probably come someplace after that.
So what kind of, did you come across any real good poets, any good poems that you could save?
I didn't bring any props with me. Michael Stock, right? But
actually, I'm my own prop.
I have borrow ours. Yeah, help yourself.
Help yourself.
Optateers.
Here's our good ratings.
But every year I do a book of children's poems from Dade Public Schools, an anthology. I think last year's book was about 200 pages long.
No kidding.
I visited about 40 schools, and so I do publisher work, and they write great stuff. People are kind of surprised when they hear the kids actually do this, in a sense that they're not surprised when they see children's drawings or paintings. They know that children can express themselves visually, but there's not that much focus, I think, on creative, on recognizing the kids are able to express themselves in language much beyond doing grammar tests and spelling bees or writing compositions.
And the work
that the kids do, just is so fresh and exciting and knocks me out that it's every time I go in the classroom, it's almost like the first time that I've been there. I mean, we do things from ranging from archaic 12th century French troubadour forms like sestinas to writing rap songs. I mean, there's one from an elementary school that I'm sure I could remember at least one or two lines. I stole a cola from the Ayatollah, and then I drove to Pensacola. I got there in my Toyota Corolla, and when I got there, the Spanish girl said, "Hola."
Boom,
Right. So, you know.
Well, that's great.
I don't know why you would say elementary.
Michael Stack.
Wouldn't have,
Paul
have an
Schaefer.
ambition for to write. I mean, I had an ambition to be a writer at elementary school.
Oh,
And then I
yeah,
got to
yeah.
junior high. I outgrew it. You know.
No, me too. In fact, I remember making books when I was a kid. My first book was called something like Nancy Kwan, Hawaiian Nurse. It was going to be a series like the Hardy Boys. I must have been in the second grade. And by the time
Hawaiian Nurse, I think that was one of those 25-cent movies I was talking about the last
Yeah,
show.
you mentioned
But when I was a kid, unlike now, you know, the books, the poems that we'd have in our school books were written by people who were dead, and no matter how good, even Shakespeare in junior high, I mean, you know, certainly we'd all probably admit that Shakespeare knows how to sling a rhyme. These and thous, and shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more fair and temperate, or more temperate and fair?
Oh, enough of the
Buds
Shakespeare
made to
stuff.
shake.
Right, come
Right,
on,
you know,
yes,
really.
get at it.
And then I would be going to. I grew up around New York, and I'd be going to art galleries and seeing and concerts, and you know, I wanted to be a painter when I was that age because I knew that you could be a painter. I didn't know you could be a poet. I thought all poets were kind of dead. It wasn't until high school when.
Aren't they? They're not. Oh well.
Michael Stack.
Jeffrey's alive. Jeffrey's a live poet in our
Yeah, oh,
studio
yeah,
this
yeah.
afternoon.
There's a poem writer.
Yeah.
A poem writer. So, what's on the kids' minds these days? Are there any kind of anxieties that you find, or do you explore things like that, or is it just kind of
We
like
just have a lot
keep
of
it light?
insight
You
into
keep
that,
it
so-
light, or do you keep it fun?
Gee, now that is a probing question, Michael.
I didn't want to get too serious. Maybe I shouldn't have asked it.
Well, we withdraw it then if it's a. Well, we wouldn't want to.
I'm sorry.
No, you know, I try to get across to kids that poems can be about, you know, cockroaches crawling up your windowsill as easily as they can be about the rain pit-pat-patting on my windowsill or horses galloping through windswept fields. So all that kind of stuff does come out. As far as, you know, themes, I don't know, I think, you know, probably Freddy Krueger still.
I find that exciting. So, just very briefly, you go around to different schools. Is that how it
Yeah,
is?
this year I'm going to about 50 schools a year.
Oh,
About 50 schools this year. I go to school for a couple of days and then get in my car and go someplace else.
And so, where do you find time to write poems for yourself?
Yeah, you know, the program originally, when it was started by the National Endowment for the Arts, was funded in a way that kind of gave you support to be an artist also. The way that the program has evolved in Dade Public Schools has been to keep me in the schools as often as possible. And, you know, there's a problem with that. You know, I write when I'm running, when I'm in my car, when I'm writing. It's, you know, it's something that, it's not like you come in the studio and when the camera goes on, you're a Michael Stack television personality. Just writing is something I do all the time. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually a television personality all the time.
Except when you're a radio personality.
Except when I'm a radio
It's just Mr.
personality.
Folk. Let's leave it at that.
But isn't that kind of dangerous, writing in your car? I mean, is it? You can get.
No, I have a high-tech little Sony micro cassette recorder.
You said you were writing. You say you were recording. Yeah.
Well, that's.
All right, enough.
Well, you're
chit-chat.
right.
Let's
I'm
hear
sorry.
one. Let's hear one of these poems.
Yeah, let's hear some.
I don't have any of the poems that the kids wrote.
Well, we don't care.
And
Let's hear
we want
yours.
something
I
new
did bring-
and original.
I brought some artist books to show you, but apparently they won't film well. But my wife Dina and I have a book in a show at the Miami-Dade Public Library, which is on now until I believe sometime in August.
That's what you're
called
holding
Words and Images. It's a book, artist book that my wife, who does collages, a unique book, which is in the collection of the Sackner Poetry Archive. on loan to the library. It's a great show, and I was going to read some of those, but plastic doesn't photograph well, apparently.
No, well, we don't know what you're talking about.
But that's right. Yeah. But I do, here's a poem that I wrote for my wife. Actually, 2 poems that I wrote for my wife.
Well, we can make up for the fact we can't show our artwork by...
This one actually is in that archaic 12th century troubadour form called sestina, which instead of using rhyming words uses 6 N-words in permutations of changing order in 6 stanzas. Well,
this won't be boring, will it?
Sounds a little boring.
All poetry is boring. It's about death and love.
Okay,
Sestina Ferdina. I feel in my bones a color television parked next to an illegal alien. Is this for what we have memory, or is it the rhyme of the ancient mariner? I must send them flowers and let them feel the heat. In all of this heat, a sweltering television grows reckless as flowers plague the illegal aliens like the plague. The rhyme of the ancient mariner eclipses memory. The memory of heat, like the rhyme of the ancient mariner, on television, like the din of illegal aliens, whispers carelessly to the flowers. How she loved the fragile flowers, entwining him in memory, an ode to illegal aliens, wrestling in the night heat, nothing to pray to but television. He dreams the rhyme of the ancient mariner, and dreams the rhyme of the ancient mariner, sailing in flowers, fighting on TV, rejecting memory. Only the thought of heat remains like an illegal alien in the heart of the illegal alien. The rhyme of the ancient mariner, like a dreamy leopard in heat, embraces flames in the memory of television. In love, she is a flower, he a memory, she a television.
So you're saying that your wife is a television.
And another short one.
Right, it's wonderful. It makes me feel like I'm intellectual listening to you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he uses words like permutation.
I close my eyes and search for a theme. Reality, death, love, and desire. I settle on fashionably crime in the streets and search the beach house for sidewalks and a subway. In the next room, you're mad because it's a natural part of marriage we must experience. And the dark ocean's waves wash out to sea the misdemeanors of my internal speech thoughts without caring. Your leery gaze screams darkly through the door and catches the attention of my Perry Mason, my Mod Squad, my Elliot Ness. And I go to the beach and battle a bottle for beauty and watch a cockroach catch the flat falling of footsteps. And the eyes of palm trees pay me no more mind than a land crab whose eyes explode in the moonlight in homage to the stars below me, above me, and on both sides. So I ask the moonlight on the wave top the meaning of truth. And there is none, he said, so go home and apologize to your wife and go to sleep.
Now, there's some images I can understand. You made some references that I can relate to. The Mod Squad, Elliot Ness, Perry Mason.
I hate to interrupt you, Mr. Poe, but and Jeffrey, thank you very much for that poetry. We do have another guest that I've been ignoring.
The Chicago 7.
Boomslang. Hi, Boomslang.
Hi.
Now, Jeffrey, being the intellectual poet here, kind of hogged up the whole show here almost.
So he is.
No, I take that back. That was all my fault. But tell us who you are. Tell us what you do.
My name is Boomslang, and I write little folk songs now and then.
Little folk songs. And now, where'd you get the name Boomslang? Or is that your real name?
It's a family name.
Okay. Your father's name was?
Mr. Mead. My name is Boomslang Mead.
Okay. Okay, well, do you want to play a little folk song?
That sounds like a reference.